So y'all just gonna let kids starve in Alabama? Did I hear that right? Women and children in Alabama may not eat because the state is about to run out of food assistance funding. This is what I don't understand. Government always has money for wars, for tax cuts, for some billionaire's pet project. But when it comes to feeding families, suddenly the wallet kind of just snaps shut.
Alabama voters are speaking out, and the frustration is getting harder to ignore. Families are facing painful power bills, threats to health care and food assistance, and leaders who keep promising help while ordinary people struggle. For some Trump supporters, the question is becoming uncomfortable. Did the politics they defended actually make life harder for their own communities? Welcome to Vote Out Loud.
Alabama power. Alabama power. Hope you're listening. And I want you to know that everybody in this state is on to your bullcrap corruption. We are. And let me tell you what people have gotten smart enough to do to catch you. It's gotten so bad that we Alabamians are paying so much for our power bills, $400 to $500 to $700 a month, that what we started doing is we've started turning our breakers off. We started turning everything off, and we're keeping up with it. And you're still charging us your outlandish bullshit prices. Something's not right with that. How am I using the same amount of power when everything is being shut off?
What the hell is going on with Alabama Power? My bill has went up around 60% compared to what it used to be.
So we have an elderly lady in Birmingham, Alabama, who lives alone. Her power bill ranges from $200 to $250 every single month. She opened her power bill for this past month that she just got, and do you want to know what her power bill was? No changes, no anything. All of you saying, well, something's not right. It's Alabama power. It's not the people here in Alabama. Let's get that through our heads, okay? We're not making any changes. It's the power company. Her bill tripled to $850. $850 for an elderly, at-home, by-herself person. She's on a fixed income. She can't pay her bill. Yet there's a grant out there that Mama OK Ivy got for $250,000 last year. Who's seen that money? Has anybody in Alabama? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you been able to use it? Because it's there for our power bills, for propane, for gas. Does anybody know about that?
Why is my bill almost $300 and it's just me here at the house? Y'all need to stop scamming folks. Ain't no way in hell this little house I live in, power bill is almost $300. Y'all need to go to hell.
So MAGAville just got the mess around and find out in their own hometown of Huntsville, Alabama, who voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump because he promised to lower utility bills, groceries, and others. Well, many of them just got a notice from their electric company that their bill will go up by $100 due to a surcharge. And the explanation in this notification was that the $1 million subsidy grant from the federal government has been canceled by, drumroll please, yes, that's right, Donald Trump has ended the subsidy handout to the electric company to help keep Alabama's poorest residents from paying extra money on their electric bills.
So let's talk about Alabama Power. So my bill has been higher than giraffe ass, and I thought that maybe it was because of my house, trailer house, whatever. But I've been seeing a lot of videos the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks on TikTok about people talking about Alabama power bills and how high it is. And I'm like, okay, so maybe it ain't just me. I got a 90 model double wide. It's got a whole add-on on the back of it, so in total it's like a 7-bed, 3-bath. It's got 2 3-ton package units on it. And then during the middle of June and July, my power bill was like $800, $825 or something like that. So I went up there. I was like, hey, there ain't no way. She was like, oh, yeah, you're burning too many kilowatts. I'm like, yeah, but how much y'all charging per kilowatt? And she wouldn't ever really give me an answer. So I'm like, all right. So then the next month, I turned the back unit off, made sure we only, wash clothes once a week, something like that, turn all the lights off, stuff like that, still the same. It's $760, $780. I'm like, there ain't no damn way. So then I start seeing these videos. I'm like, okay, now everything's starting to add up, make sense. Something ain't right. Because a few years back, I lived in a house that was on Wiregrass Electric. And when I first moved in there, I had it on prepaid, meaning you could call and pay it daily. You pay for that amount for that day, which is like $4 to $6 a day. So, you're looking at $200, maybe $250 a month, which is about right. Which Alabama Power used to be like that years ago, but now they're just straight up gouging people. And, something needs to be done about it. The bad thing is you can't. I've got one option where I live, Alabama Power. If you don't pay it, you ain't got no power.
I have a number for you. I talked about this. Alabama farmers are suffering. Chinese aren't buying soybeans. You probably know these numbers, but I just found today. Last year, the Chinese purchased $12.6 billion worth of soybeans. You know what the number is this year so far? Zero. They haven't. That's it. Yes, sir. Zero. You're on top of it. I just find that remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, they're buying them from all other places, Larry, but they've kicked our farmers to the curb.
Okay, I just needed to come and say my piece. If you live in Alabama, I'm just going to go ahead and forewarn you that we about to be the kid with the sign on our back that says "kick me" and be made fun of even more than we have been because of our fabulous governor, Miss K. Mama, grandma, old lady, whatever you want to say. That's what we talk.
This is a bill that's coming this week to pay only the essential federal workers that have been furloughed. There's Democrats want to pay all the federal workers, all the furloughed workers. Should all of them be paid right now? Because they're out of work too, and they can't get paid.
Well, it's called a shutdown. You start paying everybody, that no pressure on anybody. No pressure on anybody. I think we just leave it as it is. I don't care if you shut the government down. I don't care if you shut the government down. Military should be getting paid and law enforcement should be getting paid. Those are the two entities that you need. Everybody else, shut it off. Everybody else, shut it off. You really start making people hurt when it gets to that point. But, we still get paid up here. Still get paid up here. Makes no sense to me.
Any of y'all fuckers from Alabama? Because Kay Ivy's over here taking away all the good things we have before she finally leaves office. Which one of y'all havers kept voting for her?
I'm going to start a group called Alabama Forward, and we're going to work on issues to move our state forward, right? I think, in my opinion, we live in the best state in the country, hands down the greatest country. And so education issues, economic development issues, tax issues, military issues, continuing to make sure our state is not woke, that it stays conservative. And so we're going to stay engaged and have some really smart policy people, have some really smart social media people, and we're going to help continuing to shape the narrative in our state to make sure that we're the leading conservative state in the country.
What you are hearing in these clips is not ordinary frustration. These are people looking at electric bills that have doubled or tripled while saying they have not changed how they live. They are cutting back, turning off appliances, skipping groceries, and still opening bills that feel impossible to pay. And that is where the political anger becomes very real. Alabama has been controlled by conservative leadership for years, and many voters were told that Republican policies would protect families from government overreach and high costs. But when residents ask for lower utility bills and stronger oversight, they are watching lawmakers debate changes that critics say could take power away from voters while leaving the real cost problem untouched. That should make people angry. Because when families are choosing between groceries and electricity, they do not need another speech about values. They need leaders willing to challenge powerful utility companies, demand transparency, and put struggling households ahead of political connections.
Alabama, I got a question for you, honey. How did my power bill go up $117 in 1 month? $117. My power bill went up, increased $117 in 30 days. I need an explanation. It was cold, baby, but it wasn't that cold.
You cannot tell me that the three people that live in this household, that anything is being done any different than it was in the last, I don't know how many years, to go up to that much. Like, I'm struggling. I've already cut out groceries. I don't buy groceries anymore. Like, now, what do I cut out? Like, I'm confused. Somebody help me out. What do I cut out next? Because you gotta have power. I wish I could cut them off.
The governor of Alabama, Meemaw Ivey, is about to steal $100 million from the Children's Education Fund to pay for her for-profit mega prison. And that is not speculation, pals. She said so herself. Okay, well, in full transparency, I am kind of paraphrasing. See, she still speaks like she's living on a plantation and commutes to work via time machine. So when she was questioned and asked directly if she was going to take $100 million from the education fund to pay for her prison, she looked at the camera and said, well, sure. If that ain't a perfect example of exactly how Republicans care for kids, I don't know what is. They would rather allocate funds to their forced slave labor operations than ensure your child receives a proper education. At this point, I'm pretty sure they're just going to install a pipeline straight from preschool to prison. You know, for profit's sake. Teach them basic motor skills, see how much money you can make off of them immediately. If this shit right here don't make you sick to your stomach, then you need to spend some time doing some serious soul searching, because something inside of your heart is screwed up 7 ways from Sunday. Now, the rest of y'all have you a wonderful day, or at least the one you voted for or deserve.
You can't call yourself pro-life and refuse to expand Medicaid. You can't call yourself pro-life and cut health care. You can't call yourself pro-life and be against feeding children. You call yourself pro-life because you support forcing every baby to be born, yet you are against helping people who are alive. You can't say you're for small government and want the government in all of the uteruses. You can't say you're for small government and support the federal government taking over cities. You can't say you support states' rights and support other states invading states. You can't say you support free speech but want the government to punish people you disagree with for expressing theirs. You can't say you love freedom if you support taking other people's freedoms away. Good people do not look at what is going on and cheer it on. Good people do not cheer on the oppression of others. Good people do not stay silent as others are being oppressed. Good people know the difference between patriotism and nationalism.
You voted for Trump. It's very simple. There's no other answer other than you are in a cult and you voted for Donald Trump. That's it. Very simply put.
Utility bill went from $250 a month to $690.
So fun fact, the townsfolk of Huntsville, Alabama, they found out that they get to pay a little bit more on their utilities bill because of an executive order that the president signed. So their accounts were debited because they had taken they were recipients of a government grant that helped subsidize or help offset the cost of their utility bills. But now, because of an executive order signed by their boy, President Trump, that assistance is no longer there. Not only that, they owe it back.
Alabama, we deserve better. We deserve a statewide healthcare system that is for everybody. I'd like to see a more forward-thinking approach to our education system. We always place almost dead last in education, healthcare, pretty much everything. But Alabama is not as red as y'all would like to believe. It is the blueprint for corruption, gerrymandering, and extreme voter suppression. A lot of Alabamians that live here would even say that it's a red state. I said the same thing until I moved to what was supposed to be a blue state utopia. And let me tell you, outside of the city and those blue states, the people still vote against their best interests. They still have people that vote Republican in every single state. The main difference is they are not as suppressed as we are. Our voting map has been illegal for the last 5 years. Our voting map got changed after we managed to elect a Democrat, Doug Jones. At one point, they had Birmingham, part of Birmingham, and Mobile in the same district, 4 hours away. Mobile is down on the southern part. Birmingham is not, well, I wouldn't say north or really central, but it's north of Montgomery, kind of in between Montgomery and Huntsville. It's ridiculous to have it in the same district. And in fact, it was so illegal that the Supreme Court, Trump's own judge, came in and said it was the most racist voting map he had ever seen because of the way it kept all black communities in one district,
all the Democratic communities, all of our big cities sequestered, and then allowed these rural areas with a much less population to have more voting power than we did in the city.
And universities across this nation so that we can be the tier 1 research university we so deserve to be instead of the playground of a fascist.
You have complete control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. We expect you to reopen the government. We expect you to extend the ACA tax credits. I'm standing here with a few friends who agree with me. And by the way, release the Epstein files.
As much as this state sometimes disappoints me, I love Alabama. And all I want is for this state to live up to its promise and potential and to quit being the stereotype it unfortunately has always been. But unfortunately, we are witnessing what has always held Alabama back now spread across the nation like kudzu. We are witnessing the Alabamification of America. A quarter of children in Alabama live with food insecurity. 15% of Alabama citizens use SNAP and WIC. That's almost 900,000 people. Alabama has a higher poverty rate than the national average. A third of Alabama counties are maternity care deserts. A third of Alabama counties don't have a pediatrician. Over 1 million people in Alabama rely on Medicaid. Almost 40% of babies born in Alabama are born with Medicaid. At least 300,000 people, maybe more, could gain access to health care if the state expanded Medicaid. That would also create and save jobs and ward off the closures of rural hospitals and health care services.
There is also a painful contradiction running through this entire story. Alabama politicians often speak loudly about protecting life and defending families. But what does that message mean when rural hospitals are already struggling, Medicaid support is under pressure, children face food insecurity, and parents are worried about whether they can afford basic care? You cannot claim to care deeply about children while making it harder for families to feed them. You cannot praise working people while supporting policies that leave seniors, disabled residents, veterans, and low-income families with fewer resources. And you cannot call yourself a champion of ordinary Americans while refusing to confront a system that keeps making their lives more expensive. This is why so many residents sound betrayed. Some of them voted Republican because they believed those leaders would protect their communities. Now they are watching health care access weaken, food support become uncertain, and household bills climb while the political class keeps finding money for prisons, corporations, and priorities that do not lower a single family's monthly expenses. For MAGA voters who are suddenly furious, this is the moment to ask a serious question. Were you voting for policies that would help your neighbors? Or were you trusting slogans that never had a real plan behind them?
So y'all just gonna let kids starve in Alabama? Did I hear that right? Women and children in Alabama may not eat because the state is about to run out of food assistance funding? This is what I don't understand. Government always has money for wars, for tax cuts, for some billionaire's pet project. But when it comes to feeding families, suddenly the wallet kind of just snaps shut. We're talking about women and children and babies. People who actually need food to live. And Alabama is basically saying, good luck, I hope you're not hungry. And it's not just irresponsible, it's cruel. And all of this goes back to Republican Congress, right? Because they're not showing up to do their jobs, so by proxy, women and children are going to suffer and starve.
Welcome to Alabama, where you write your governor and she recommends DHR.
From her today. And in this letter, she essentially tells me that DHR is there and I can put my kid up for foster care or adoption In that sense, I reached out to her with concerns of financial well-being that she called DHR on me.
So this mom, Emily Davis, reaches out to our governor to ask for help and assistance, basically saying the middle class doesn't exist anymore. We're struggling. We can't pay rent. We're having trouble with food, etc. And in the letter back from our governor to an Alabama mother, our governor says, Governor Ivey says you can essentially utilize adoption or foster care. Then Governor Ivey says she's given DHR her contact information, meaning Governor Ivey has contacted DHR on behalf of Emily Davis. Then a representative for the governor gaslights this mom, telling her, we were just trying to connect you with resources.
752,000 Alabamians get SNAP benefits. 752,000. That's a lot of people.
So as a kid that grew up using, our family's food stamps, and as an adult who has also had to turn to programs such as SNAP and WIC within my life, I can tell you this. People can shit on those programs all they want. They can talk all the crap they want. They don't know what they're talking about, for one. But for two, children are always innocent. They're the only innocent ones left. I don't give a what their parents do. But children need to eat.
How do you not choke on those lies?
That's kind of what's in the big beautiful bill. I'm trying to tell you, but you're not listening.
We have questions.
Answer our questions. Answer questions.
Answer questions. From their congressman, and it's very hard to speak while you guys are speaking.
Well, it's hard to hear when he lies.
Hard to hear through the bullshit.
So due process for a citizen and a non-citizen are different.
False. Lies. The 5th and 14th Amendments allow for it, and the Supreme Court has backed it many times. Shame.
Look, I want y'all to understand something about this SNAP benefits getting cut off. Robbery and theft will go up because of this.
DEI and ESG. There's an acronym for everything, isn't there? Diversity, equity, and inclusion is DEI. And basically, just to give you the short version, because when you read about it, you just kind of get more confused. But it's dumbing down everybody to be the same. It's in institutions, it's in the workplace. Nobody can excel anymore. If you excel, you're probably going to be slapped on the wrist. And so we have got to get out of that. We cannot allow these bright kids, and it was all turned around by whites and Asians. They are normally a good bit smarter.
We're starting to hear from people who are on Medicaid who are losing access to certain services, be it long-term care, nursing homes, outpatient services, things like that are getting cut. And the GOP has consistently said that people will not be kicked off Medicaid. And that may be true. A lot of people won't be. It doesn't seem as though any Republican voters feel like they will not qualify with the work requirement. But just because you're not losing your Medicaid doesn't mean that you're not going to lose your access to health care. $900 billion has been cut, and states have to make up that difference. There's a lot of different ways they can make up that difference. Kicking people off is one of those ways. Another way is to cut certain services that Medicaid pays for. I live in Alabama, a state that has refused to expand Medicaid, so we were already at a disadvantage, and now we're going to get cut even more. Trust me when I say that Alabama cannot make up that difference.
And so it begins. In certain states, nursing homes have already started reaching out to their residents who receive Medicaid, giving them 30 days to find another place basically to get their care provided to them. Why, you ask? Come on, sip a little tea with Auntie. Let's talk about it. The big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill. These companies, these nursing homes are coming to the realization that they're losing money by having these residents in their facility.
This is how it went.
You know these tariffs that Donald Trump is putting on these other countries? Well, they're actually a good thing for the American consumer.
And this is how it's going.
You know, I've been hearing all these people complaining about prices not going down since Donald Trump became president. So I thought I'd go make a video at Walmart yesterday to show y'all how prices have come down. Guess what I found? $2.50 for a fucking cookie. I mean, I used to get a whole package of Chip Ahoy cookies for that price. $8.24 for a gallon of bleach. Yeah, prices ain't went down.
The clips also expose something else Alabama is beginning to face. Policies sound very different when their consequences arrive in your own town. It is easy to cheer for aggressive immigration enforcement from a distance. It becomes harder when local businesses lose trusted workers, restaurants shut down, farms struggle, and people realize those workers were part of the community all along. The same thing applies to tariffs and economic promises. Trump told rural America that he would protect farmers, lower prices, and bring prosperity back. But when farmers lose markets, families pay more at the store, and communities feel ignored by the people they supported, the promise of America first begins to look more like working families last. That is the problem with politics built on anger. It convinces people that someone else will carry the pain. But eventually, the bill arrives at your own doorstep, in your electric bill, your grocery receipt, your hospital closure, or your workplace. And when that happens, blaming everyone except the leaders you voted for is no longer enough. Alabama residents deserve compassion because their struggles are real. But Republican leaders also deserve scrutiny because this did not appear out of nowhere. These are the results of decisions, priorities, and political loyalty that placed power and profit ahead of the people who needed help most.
Just FYI, Kay Ivey is gone the next time we're in session to vote. Even us red voters, your ass is grass. You're out of there. We don't want you no more. And I know I messed up. I'm one of the people that voted for her. Because I voted all red. Nope. This is a desperate cry for us to start paying more attention to our state. Well, me, I have to start paying more attention to my individual state versus the country. Because I'm still a supporter of Trump. But Kay Ivey bumped her head. So, next time I'm voting, I'm definitely going to pay more attention. And Kay Ivey's gone.
If y'all haven't seen the Alabama Solution, you need to go watch it. And somebody tag Trump in this, because Trump, we need some help down here in Alabama, because our people aren't doing a damn thing for our loved ones.
To build 3 new prisons that will transition our facilities from warehousing inmates to rehabilitating people.
The governor's plan calls for replacing 11 major prisons with 3 regional mega prisons.
That's the best you can do in the state of Alabama, and people are dying, people are being killed, and the best you can say is, we got new prisons coming.
Here's my controversial take. The only reason Alabama is a red state is because we are gerrymandered to hell.
We had ICE raids about 2 months ago, shut down quite a few of our Mexican restaurants. They had a warrant for a guy who was using misused COVID funds. That's all the warrant was for. And then the state of Alabama still sent in ICE and abducted like 40-something people. And you would hear like a lot of the contractors coming in saying, this is bullshit. Those were good people. They were good workers. Who cares if they did something to get here illegally? And he's like, yeah, it's illegal, but they shouldn't be treated the way they have been treated for crossing the border illegally. Like, there is nuance on how people feel. Like, I think it's a lot of people who never worked with Hispanic people or immigrants in general and don't really understand why they're here, understand their cases, and see how hard of workers they are, that are all send them back, arrest them, put them in camps, stuff like that.
There aren't even cases of like, you'll see of people that were pro this stuff until they realize it came for the workers that they work with or have working for them. You're right. Like there was this misnomer of like, oh, they won't come for the people that I like. And it's like, that's not how this works. That's not how like right-wing authoritarian deep-seated bigotry happens when it's like thrown into government executive enforcement.
These are anti-Trump billboards that have gone up in Calhoun County, Alabama, Jacksonville, Alabama, calling Trump a wannabe dictator.
Democrats still demand action be taken now on tax credits for Obamacare premiums. In the top 5 states, which include West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Tennessee, and Mississippi, premiums will more than quadruple. Premiums are also expected to more than triple in other states, including Texas, South Carolina, and Alabama. All 10 are considered to be red states.
Some of these people fail to realize down in Alabama who's broke, down in Louisiana who's broke. I can go through pretty much the entire South and tell you that they're broke and they rely on a lot of welfare from the government. To be perfectly honest, it is tax dollars from these big blue states like New York. Yeah, they send a lot of money into taxes and then broke states end up benefiting from it. And now they're about to find out. So we're in the find out phase.
This billboard's making news. It says, "What's the big secret, fellas?" The photo of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. This was put up by the group Bright Blue Dot on the side of a busy highway in Alabama, of all places. Big Blue Dot says they had financial support from local Democrats and local Republicans to put that up in Birmingham.
They just announced a plan to cut Medicaid. The state of Alabama is set to lose up to $800 million in federal funds. And if you're not aware, we are right now experiencing a crisis when it comes to our rural hospitals. Over 80% of these hospitals are operating in the red. So if we see these Medicaid cuts go through, then we will potentially see some more hospital closures in our state. Republicans, the Republican Party, they own this. Republican leadership is not being honest with the state of Alabama, and they're not looking out for our best interests.
Crazy how Coldplay can catch an affair, but this administration can't even release the names of pedophiles.
There's something else that needs to be implemented here in this state and ultimately on the federal level. And that's what I like to call the People's Choice Initiative, where just because there are elected officials at your state capitol writing and passing these bills doesn't mean that they should just cut off contact with us. Before any bill is voted into law, we should be able to vote on it as well, whether or not it goes into law. That's what I like to call the People's Choice Initiative.
We definitely aren't the woke. We are not the woke people. We're not the ones doing the woke agenda, but we are awake. We are awake, definitely. And I'm not switching sides. Nobody I know, nobody I personally know is switching sides and going Democrat. They're just not doing it.
12% of Madison City citizens voted in the election the other day? Really?
What is unfolding in Alabama is bigger than one angry voter or one shocking electric bill. It is a warning about what happens when leaders are trusted without being held accountable. People were promised lower costs, stronger communities, and protection for working families. Instead, many are now dealing with unaffordable utilities, uncertain health care, food insecurity, struggling rural areas, and a state government they feel is no longer listening to them. And for Trump supporters who are beginning to speak out, anger is only the first step. If you are upset about your bills, your hospitals, your farms, your jobs, or your family's future, then you also have to be honest about the politicians and policies that helped create this situation. Loyalty should never matter more than results. Alabama does not need more culture war distractions while people are trying to keep the lights on and put food on the table. It needs accountability. It needs leadership that serves families before corporations, children before prisons, patience before political talking points, and communities before party loyalty. So the real question is not whether Alabama is suffering. These voices make it clear that many people are. The real question is whether voters will remember this pain the next time politicians ask for their trust. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay with Vote Out Loud as we continue following the real consequences behind the political promises.